This is another episode to the Legendary Basketball Association podcast. We about to go over the team rules, coaching rules. It's me, Just Say Chuck. I got my co-owner David Isom, and let's get into it.
Yes, sir.
So first off, we can start off with the rules prior to the first season. David, can you handle that?
Yeah, we got it to where starting off, we're gonna start with the off season, and the way for 2023, the Legendary Basketball Association, we're gonna have it set where each off season, a team is allowed to trade, sign, and draft players. So, a player must stay with his team for 3 seasons until he can sign with a different team. Now, if a player wants to get traded, he must let his current coach know. That way the coach can find a player or a team to trade him with. There'll be a draft with new players available after each season, and the teams with the worst records will have the highest chances of getting the highest picks in the draft. Sort of like the other league. Teams can also trade players and picks in the offseason prior to each draft. So similar to your famous league, we will also be doing it in this manner. Just it'll be a little different because the players can actually choose whether they want to get traded, but after 3 seasons. So like right now, it's 2023. If they come in on 2023, they have to wait 3 seasons in order to be able to trade teams like that. Well, the player options anyway. And that's what we got as far as the off season.
Yes, sir. So after that, each succeeding season has its own set of rules. David, can you handle that also, please?
Yeah, so after every season, we're gonna update the off-season rules as far as how trades are going based on the current season and how things went along and how the game is progressing and how the league is progressing. So we're going to be making changes, but we're going to continue to let you guys know any changes or edits that we make to these particular rules as we go into the off season. Before the season starts, we're going to let you guys know through the podcast what rules we changed and why. And it's always going to be in a spirit of fairness to the entire league. So anything we change, trust us, it's going to be something that is very, very fair, but yet important to keep the league going in the right direction.
Yes, sir. All right. That covers the first off season, and every off season follows. Which, if any rule is updated, we will update the rule book, and we will keep you guys posted.
Definitely.
David, if you can scroll with me down to coaching duties, we can go over that real quick. It's similar to the NBA, but it still has its own unique twist. And
Yep.
at the end, stay tuned for that, because at the end, we're going over the Legendary Basketball Association rules that are completely different than every other basketball league. So David, can you mind going over the coach duties?
Yeah, I don't mind at all. Yeah. For coaches, it's a little different here at the LBA compared to your NBA and your other leagues. But I'll lay them down, one by one. First rule: the name and the number of each player who will start the game must be given to the scorers at least 30 minutes prior to scheduled start time. So say we got a game in the morning at 11 a.m. That means by 10:30, we should have every player that's going to be starting the game sent to the scorers so they can easily be able to keep track of the scores, assists, blocks, anything like that needs to be recorded. They will be able to put that information in and be set to receive this information when the game starts. We don't want to do it right at the start time, because by then they're already playing catch up. So we want to make sure you send that in, if you're a coach, at least 30 minutes prior to the game. We prefer an hour, but the rule is at least 30 minutes. You don't want to be late doing that. The second rule is from the substitution box line close to the coach's bench to the baseline. The coach's position can be either on or off the bench. Crossing the mid-court line by a coach is prohibited, and offenders will immediately get an unsportsmanlike technical foul. Assistant coaches and any other helpers must stay on the bench. That includes players that's not being subbed in and out. So from the substitution box line, which is closest to the coach bench to the baseline, the coach can stand up or they can be on the bench. But the second they cross that mid-court line, it's a technical foul. So keep that in mind. You know, sometimes energies will get high during these games. It'll get close, and if that is done, the referees are going to call that technical foul 9 times out of 10. So make sure we're not doing that as a coach. Rule number 3, when substituting a player, the coach must inform the player to go to the scorer's table and let the scorers know that he's about to check in and what players he's replacing. So who's going in, who's going out. Coaches can also have players inform scorers of the substitute. Coaches can sub players during any dead ball as long as the coach or players let the scorers know. That's the score team know. Now, in simple terms, because I know I said a lot there, when you're about to trade in, you have to let the scores table know exactly who's coming in, who's coming out. Dead ball situations is the only way you can really trade in or trade out, or should I say sub in or sub out your players. So this rule is similar to the other leagues, but you do have to let the scores table know as soon as possible when you're planning on doing that. Rule number 4, if a coach doesn't want to use a timeout or to substitute a player, he can have the player standing out of bounds by the opposing team's basket. Once the opposing team scores, the player can enter the game, but only after the player he's substituting for is off the court. The player must let the scorers at the scoring table know he's about to get substituted in and who he's replacing. This is called a walk-in sub. Now, this rule right here is new to the LBA. This is exclusive to the LBA. This is the only way you can sub a player in without having to use a timeout to sub them. So it's not like the NBA. This is a new rule that we're doing where it's called a walk-in sub, but you have to be careful here because if that player walks on that court before the other player that's traded, that's subbed out goes off the court, it's a technical foul. Because foul. Yes, sir, because it's too many people on the court at one time. Also, the scorers table must know that this particular player is coming in and the other player is coming out. So when they see that, the player that's coming out, the coach has to wave that player down to have that player come out, tell him you're coming out, have some kind of way to show the scores table that player's coming out, and they'll notice the other player coming in when they approach the other side of the court, when they're subbing on the opposing team's basket. When they're over there, then they'll know that player's coming in. But that player coming off has to let the scores table know in order for them to make the adjustments. So that's one of our new ones. Rule number 5, each coach must arrive to the gym or court at least an hour before tip-off. So before the game starts, all coaches have to be at the venue an hour before tip-off. And the reason for that is rule number 1 on it. In order for you to give your name and number of each player who's going to be at the game, you have to be there. So to all my coaches, you have to be there an hour before tip-off so that we can get everything lined up with the teams, and we'll have everything will be organized to where we'll be able to run these games smoothly, because all this is on a time constraint. We only have so much time we can use. For the courts, everything's scheduled sharp. So if it's 11 a.m., it's 11 a.m. sharp, 12 noon, 12 sharp, 1 sharp. We have to be, on time. Rule number 6, coaches are expected to and be responsible for scheduling all team practices. Each coach can choose how often and how long each practice will be. So we give y'all the freedom on how much practice y'all doing, how often y'all gonna do it, and how long it can be. It can be as short as y'all want it. It can be as long as y'all want it to be. The ball's in your court on this, all coaches. So if you want your team to be better, it'll be more practice time coming in. You know, and that's self-explanatory pretty much. You have control over your practices. One thing I will say about rule number 6, you don't want to over practice. If you practice with your team too much, you don't want to risk getting them hurt. So don't go to extremes with these practices. Just, make sure that they're getting the practice in that they need and that they're good enough to go for the games and rock out, because we do need these guys healthy too. That's another thing.
Facts.
Rule number 7, coaches are expected to know at least 1 hour before game time which players are starting playing. If a player can't make it to the game, the coach is responsible for letting the league owners know, which is us, me and Charles. So let us know if these players aren't going to show up, and then we have to, go through the rules accordingly on how we're going to handle that accountability for that particular player. And we can also make adjustments on who's going to come in to replace that player, because we will have players that come in to sub too. Rule number 8, coaches are allowed to miss no more than 1 game per season. If the head coach isn't available for a game, he must make sure that the assistant coach will be available for the game. We got to have coaches here. So if you guys are going to volunteer to be coaches, you have to be at the games. It is going to give you some good publicity for being the coach. It's going to give you a lot of traction on where you want to go being linked in with our league, because we're going to be reaching out to a lot of different organizations. So make sure you're on time so that you don't miss this opportunity of making, becoming great through the Legendary Basketball Association. But if you do have to miss a game, granted, we know life happens. If you do have to miss that 1 game, make sure that your assistant coach is available for that game, and try not to miss any more, because we only have so many games we're doing. We're not doing a lot of games this season as we're just starting off. So for this season, we're real tight on how many games you're allowed to miss, because we only have maybe 6 to 8 games, maybe 10 games per team, depending on how we run the schedule for this season. So we don't want to have a lot of people missing. We want to have people involved. We want to have people engaged and, ready to go and contribute to what we got going on here at Legendary Basketball Association. Rule number 9, dress code is always casual. We don't want to just come in dressed in any kind of way, though. Don't just come in dressed like you just, straight out. I don't even want to say straight out of the hood, but don't just come dressed any kind of way for the league, man. Please don't come dressed any kind of way for the league, man. Dress decent. If you want to be flashy, you can be a little flashy, but, just keep in mind that when we do these things, we want to look. If you're coming in to be a coach, dress like a coach. Even if you're not wearing a whole suit or whatever, look the part of a coach. We're going to have shirts available for you coaching teams. We'll show you on the store where you can get them at. Like t-shirts with the LBA logo, jeans, sneakers. You can do that. Or khaki pants is more my type, I would say, for a coach than even the jeans. But, just wear something that'll show. If you're going to do like jeans and sneakers, at least wear the shirt that says like LBA, or a hoodie or something that says LBA on it, so they will know that you're representing the league. And it's a good look for us. And the better we dress with this, the better we'll look as an organization on that. Now, this rule may change later, because as we continue to progress and the vibe gets higher and we get more people involved, we may have it to where you have to be more formal, and have minimum khakis and no, we could do sneakers, but it just depends on what type. Casual, and then like with the LBA, you have to have something that says LBA on it. That's definitely coming next year, where by the time we gain traction here, we're gonna want to have it where everybody's wearing wearing it. They have to wear it. That'll be next year though. This year we're just starting fresh, so we're gonna leave it a little open for people to just come in and be involved in what we're doing.
Yeah.
But next year we're definitely gonna have it where you have to have like some of the merch showing what we're doing, to represent the brand that we represent, which is the LBA, the Legendary Basketball Association. So as we go up, we're gonna have to continue to progress and move things along, but that's where we're gonna go with it. So for now it's casual, but just be mindful. Use discernment on what you're wearing. We don't want to just come in any kind of way like we straight off the block.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Real quick with the coaches dress. Keep in mind that your team is going to follow your lead. So the more professional you act, the more respect from your team, your players you will get. So keep that in mind at all times when it comes to your dress and your practice schedules and everything. But go ahead, David.
Definitely. And this one is a little different as well. Rule number 10. We don't really want a lot of profanity to be used on the court, as we are a more we're a family-oriented league. But we do understand that sometimes words come out. We want people to be themselves. So we're not gonna say we're promoting profanity.
We understand,
but we there's levels to this rule. So I'm gonna state the rule and then we're gonna state the levels. Rule number 10. Profanity is allowed on court, but never during interviews. The reason for the interviews not being allowed during the interviews at all is because we're going to post it to our channel, and we want to have full access to social media by everyone. So we don't want to allow profanity that would cause our channel, as we're doing these games, to have any problems with us being able to post the content to the channel, so that you guys can have access to the stuff that we're doing here. That includes interviews, highlights, anything like that. Now, there will be occasions where it's a highlight and somebody may say something that is profanity. We will be able to edit and things like that, but there will be some occasions where we won't catch it and it will be on there. But we do want to keep that, let y'all know and be aware of what we have here. You will hear it once in a while, but there's limits to it. We don't want somebody coming on court just cursing the other team out. We don't want players going out there, cursing, oh, you ain't this, you ain't that. You know what I'm getting at, as far as like just pretty much just raw, straight on, just cursing somebody out. That is unacceptable. But as far as like, being in the moment, and you say something as a result of making a game-winning shot or something like that, we're not gonna go crazy over that. We're gonna use balance when it comes to this rule. So we expect you guys to do the same. We want it to be balanced. This rule may change depending on what happens this season. If it's used too much, we may have to cut it. If it's not, we'll be able to leave it. So this will be up to the teams, the coaches, and the interviews and how they go, whether this rule will change or not. But all in all, that is the sum of what the coach duties are. Now, rule number 10 does extend to the players as well as us. And Charles knows as well as I do that I'm one of the most, I use the most words in the worst way most of the time. So this rule right here, if I can do it, everybody else should be able to do it when it comes to the league. And we're definitely going to make headway as far as coaching duty. So to those of y'all that are wanting to be coaches, it is a responsibility. during the season, but it does come with a lot of rewards. You will get exposure, and you will be endorsed by the Legendary Basketball Association and everybody that we're in line with. So it's a great opportunity. I suggest you guys reach out to us. Let us know on the number that is on the Facebook. You can let us know through the email at officiallegendaryball gmail.com. Also through the merchandise and supporting there. There's many ways to support the league. So, but that's the end of the coaching rules. So we got those 10 out of the way.
Yeah, let me add something in real quick. So for that rule number 10, where it says profanity is allowed, it's like we understand when you passionate about something, sometimes your feelings make you say and do certain things. So we understand if you slip up, say a bad word or a bad slur, because I mean that happens when you passionate about something. So every word or phrase won't have the same action. So like if you go up for a shot and you get fouled and you say that's bull-ish, we'll let that slide. But if you run down court and you say something like the F word to a player, like F that mother effer, it's like that's
levels to
different.
It.
Yeah, it's levels to
to
it.
it.
So